Welcome, low ego action heroes and phoenixes. I'm Debbie Levitt from dcx, and if I'm talking to you and offering to answer any question you have, it must be Wednesday. Today is the 26th of March, 2026. Oh, sorry, 25th of March. And hello, Ana Lucia. And I would like to talk to you about whatever you would like to talk about. We did get some questions ahead of time, so I'm going to start with those. But if you would like your question answered today, you can drop it into the chat where it shows up on the screen, like Ana Lucia's hello did. And you can also ask it anonymously at dcx.to/q. That comes into my email, but it sometimes comes in late. So, which is why we are starting this week's episode picking up from last week's. Bum, bum, ba. So, last week, and I know you can't see this whole question, I'm going to read this out loud. We got an anonymous person asking, who said, how do you deal with people that make jokes that aren't really funny? They aren't trying to be offensive, but their humor isn't amusing. They'll say, you're too sensitive if you confront them directly. I can tell multiple people have problems with this individual. This isn't a work situation, so I can't go to HR. This is a public space that the other person also frequents. I know the easiest solution is avoidance, but I also feel like this person needs to be corrected so it doesn't become another person's problem. We spent a lot of time on this on last week's episode, so if you want to hear the full answer, roll it back. Go to YouTube and find the archive, the Q&A, Ask Me Anything archives. You will definitely find last week's show there. They all have dates on them. But when our show ended last week, then I got this person's follow-up, and so that is the downside to sometimes the anonymous things come in late. And this is what they wrote. It says, let's see, I'll put it up on the screen. I'll have to make it a little smaller. It's pretty small, but there you go. I'll read it out loud. It's a little small to see even on my giant screen. It says, yes, it feels like if I was to snap back, then I'm just escalating the situation. That's something we talked about last week. The biggest thing that bothers me is they assume they have the right to say these things. I can see making a joke to a close friend or someone you know, but we aren't close. They are stepping over personal boundaries. I find their lack of respect for boundaries to be a huge trigger. That's the thing that hits hardest. It's not their words. It's the fact that somebody out there in the world is acting like this. I get the feeling they are just socially awkward and grew up in a toxic home environment. For some reason, they want to turn the rest of the world into that toxic home. So I don't know enough about this situation to know where you're running into this person. You said it's a public place that you both go to. So I don't know if this is a cafe, a library, a church. I don't know. But I do know that you have the right to not hold a conversation with someone. Same for all the people who have a problem with this individual, because sometimes, yeah, gray rock is hard, Ana Lucia, only because it takes a lot of practice. You really have to genuinely not care about what that person says to be able to gray rock successfully. And then the problem is the gray rock can sometimes be taken as quiet agreement. You know, if someone says something disgusting and racist and you kind of go neutral on them, does it look like you agree, like you're supporting them? So I think gray rock can be a good technique for certain things, but if this person is being openly offensive or making jokes at other people's expense and then telling people they're too sensitive when they react, no matter what, whether this person came from a toxic home or didn't come from a toxic home, whether they're socially awkward or not socially awkward, I think we're just making a lot of excuses for them. This is an unpleasant person. They might be a narcissist or malignant narcissist. Look up some of the hallmarks of that and see if it matches this person. And to me, I think avoidance is the best way to go. Not only does it remove you from an unpleasant situation, and it should remove other people as well from an unpleasant situation, but you are sending a message to that person that you're not going to play the game. You're not going to give them positive feedback, and you're not going to give them negative feedback. So if somebody says, "Oh well, you know that group over there, they're all stupid and they should all be killed," and you and you would say like, well, that sucks. And they go, oh, you're too sensitive or you can't take a joke. I think if they go, as soon as they say something, you don't have to say anything. You can just turn around and leave. You don't have to give them, you don't owe them a reason. You don't owe them anything. You really don't owe them anything. So if somebody says something you don't like, you can say, oh, I feel my phone vibrating in my pocket. I gotta go. See ya. You can make something up. You can, oh, is that the time I promised my mother I would check in with her? She's been sick. See ya. Make up something. These are like one of the few times in life I allow you to lie. Ana Lucia says, I agree that he should be called out. We're assuming it's male. We don't know the gender of this person. But if the person asking this doesn't want to do it, gray rocking or ignoring seem to be the only solutions. Yeah, to me, the safest one is probably some sort of avoidance. Basically, deciding that as soon as this person acts up, you walk away. You're not going to be able to change them. You're not going to be able to make them better than they are. Assume they are as good as they're going to get. Assume that they like themselves this way. I think that's something we forget sometimes when we see people being mean or evil or cruel or unfair. We assume they must want to be better and they just don't know how to get there. And the unfortunate reality is sometimes people are happy to be that way. They like the attention, or if they're a famous CEO, it makes them money, or if they're the leader of a country, it gives them power or something else. So we shouldn't assume that this person wishes they could be better than this and we just have to help them get there. It's not our job to help or save other people from themselves. So save yourself. Put your oxygen mask on and find a reason to have to go if this person starts a conversation with you. And again, I can tell you what I would do, but I'm definitely a more, I wouldn't say I'm a confrontational person because I can also hold that and be quiet and sit and listen. And I'm not always confrontational, but sometimes with these people, I just say, um, uh, we're not friends. I don't want to talk to you. So if you say, oh, if I snap back, I'm escalating the situation, then you already know. You already know that this person feeds off of this. And if you respond to it, it gets bigger. So what do? Whatever makes it smaller. Oh, my screen just went weird. Can people see me? Okay. I think I'm still streaming. My screen just did something weird. Ana Lucia says, this will sound kind of bad, but one of the things I tell myself to be able to ignore a bad person without feeling guilty is pitying them. Oh, they don't know any better. Let him talk and don't answer. Oh, don't argue with an idiot. They'll make you go down to their level and beat you through experience. So, um, we're allowed to ignore bad people. There's the phrase, we don't suffer fools gladly. I like to say I don't suffer fools at all. And you certainly don't have to feel guilty, but I definitely don't want you to feel like you have to either make excuses for this person. Oh, they're socially awkward. Oh, they must have come from a toxic home. Or that you're going to change them or make them any better. Save yourself. And if this is someone you run into from time to time, walk away. Again, I don't know where this is. So I can't, if this is running into someone in church might be different than running into someone in a cafe, might be different from running into someone in a doctor's office. Like without knowing where you tend to see this person, it's hard to give more specific advice, but I would just recommend, finding a reason to end the conversation as soon as this person says something unpleasant. As soon as they say something unpleasant, go, oh, that's just got a phone notification. I'm going to have to run. See you later. Neutral smile. That would be my recommendation. We then got an anonymous question in, which I can't help but wonder if it came from the same person. Oh, Ana Lucia says, I don't say this to people. They don't know I have to think this way. This is just a personal thought to make my people pleasing attitude bend, it doesn't mean I agree with them. It's just easier for me to think something. Yeah, and again, we can give ourselves reasons and excuses, but find a healthy way to give yourself permission to be uninvolved and walk away. That's really the best. You're not going to change them. You're not going to make them better. They're probably very happy to create this drama and hurt people and see you react. And I just don't give people that pleasure. They get no fun out of it. And usually they stop doing it to me because they realize I'm not going to react. So that's really the main way to train them. If every time somebody says something disgusting, unpleasant, whatever it might be, if you just find a reason to leave, that person now has nothing. They don't have your agreement, they don't have your anger, they don't have something they can whip up into something. You're not there. You're gone. You've totally deflated the balloon. That's my preferred technique. Deflate the balloon. The anonymous question we got after that, which I excuse me, I think I'm getting a cold, which I wonder if it came from the same person, says, do you have any advice on how to value being sensitive rather than seeing it as a negative? To be fair, I feel there are times where it does lead to personal overreactions, but the general trajectory of the response is valid. I see it as a gift that comes with some costs and risks. Okay, so thing one, you answered your own question. My work here is done. Thing two, this is definitely the type of thing we could cover in life coaching. This is a great life and personal coaching topic. If you're interested, I am now an accredited life coach. You with 120 hours of practice and growing, dcx.coach. First call is free, but ultimately, I think you've answered your own question in that you understand that being sensitive and sensitive might not even be the right word, but you're using it, so we'll use your word. And I would ask you, what is the definition of sensitive to you? We might all see a different definition. Think about your definition. If you were in my life coaching session, I would say, what does sensitive mean to you? And when you think about it being a gift, what kinds of emotions does that bring up? How does this being a gift tie into your values? When you think about the gift you can bring to yourself and others with this ability that you have, what do you feel in your body when you think about that? Let's give these emotions some names. Do you want to do a writing exercise about it? Do you want to draw something about it? How can you how can you magnify the gift nature of a positive trait? Because you're saying I want to value this rather than seeing it as a negative. Who sees it as a negative? Everything in your question tells me you don't really see it as a negative. Maybe weird person you keep running into sees it as a weakness in you, but that person is wrong. That person is incapable of this type of sensitivity. So they see it as bad or weak or someone who they can pull into their spider web. Ana Lucia says, why is this person saying being sensitive? It sounds like a negative way to describe the situation. Maybe they should be thinking emotionally intelligent. So Ana Lucia is kind of asking you to reframe it, to look at it in a different way. That may or may not help, but you can try it. I think sensitive is a good word because I see it as a positive. So I would say I'm sensitive and I'm proudly sensitive. Sensitive doesn't have to be a bad thing. Someone else might say, "Oh, that Debbie, she's so sensitive." Ugh. And I go, "Yeah, I am." I think if I ran into your bully, your negative person, and they said, "You're so sensitive," I would just say, "Yeah, I am. That's pretty cool about me." You're not. You're insensitive. Gotta go. Walk away. I've just walked away from so many things in my life, just gotten up and left in the middle of so many things, just like, oh, oh, that's what's going on here. Yes, I am sensitive. Thank you for noticing. Gotta go. Ana Lucia says, maybe this is just my perspective. I'm used to people saying women are too sensitive. That's why I don't like using it. Yeah, I can certainly see what you're saying. Sometimes that's one of those things that people associate with certain genders. Oh, this person is sensitive, or there's a sense of too sensitive. So the question says, being sensitive, and then you've got being too sensitive. And anytime someone says you're too something, I always ask myself, well, what word comes after too? If it's a negative word, I'd better really look at myself. Debbie, you're too harsh. Ooh, okay. I didn't want to be harsh. I better take a look at myself. Debbie, you're too tactless. Okay, I evidently did something that bothered this person. I better take a look at that. But Debbie, you're too sensitive. Thank you. I am a sensitive, caring person, and I love that about myself. Thank you for noticing. I'm just going to ignore the two part, but that's me. And I've been learning over the last few weeks that I have some extremely uncommon personality traits. I was born not giving a crap about what anybody else said about me. And I recognize that that's not very common. So it wasn't something that I had to learn. It's a way I've always been. And that makes me different. When people say, oh, you're this and you're that, my answer has always been, oh, well, if you don't like being around that kind of person, then bye. Gotta go. I'm gonna go hang out. I'm gonna go hang out with the people who enjoy being around me. If I'm not your kind of person, that's fine. I think many years ago, this will date this, when you could put like a little status message on Skype. I think my status message was, ask your doctor if Debbie is right for you, which for people who aren't American is a parody of common phrases that you see on American commercials for drugs and pharmaceuticals. Ask your doctor if insert drug name is right for you. So I had ask your doctor if Debbie is right for you. Ana Lucia says, I love how many people don't know what emotional intelligence is, and I like seeing their face when I say it. They get confused and try to think of a way to counter it. They can't because being highly emotionally intelligent is a genuinely good thing. They can't use it in a negative sense. And again, to me, you can't be too good thing, too caring, too compassionate, too sensitive. Now, you could make some decisions that are questionable that someone might say, "Oh, you did that. You were too caring." Okay, but these are separate things. Being a caring person is great. Making a bad decision or hurting yourself or someone else because you thought you were doing it out of care, okay, let's take a look at that. But in a vacuum, if someone tries to hurt me or put me down or infantilize me or make me smaller by telling me you're oversensitive, you're too sensitive, I would just be like, oh, cool. If that's how you see me, then I gotta go. Sounds like we're not friends, and that's fine. Bye. Yeah, I don't know why more people don't walk away from non threatening situations. Like if someone's holding a gun at you, you don't have a lot of choices. If they're saying don't walk away, you probably can't. But when you don't have a threatening situation like that, you can walk away. I do it a lot. Ana Lucia says, I can disagree with the too compassionate though, as people say, don't put yourself on fire to keep others warm. Compassionate, yes, moderately compassionate. Yeah, again, all of this comes with what decisions do you make? You can be very compassionate and make good decisions for yourself and others, and you can be very compassionate and make bad decisions for yourself and others. So I'm trying to separate these qualities from what people do as personal decisions. I don't want to just say people are to anything because it sounds like once you tell somebody you're to something or I'm to something, we usually don't mean this in a good way. We rarely say to someone, "You're too beautiful." You're too, usually we're telling someone they're too something to make them feel like they've done something wrong or they are something wrong. And I think that we need to take a closer look at that crap. Um, Checking my email, I don't see any new questions. So again, you are welcome to. We do have another question that came in anonymously, and I'll put that up in a moment. But to the person who's been sending these in this week and last week, I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you want to try a life coaching session, the first one is free. Please sign up at dcx.to. I hope I can help everybody get in touch with some parts of themselves and some of their emotions and find their way to some fresh clarity. That's what coaching is all about. Fresh clarity, usually about yourself. Let me pull up the next question. It's a little on the long side, and we are actually going to share my screen because someone referenced a LinkedIn post. So we're going to read it out loud and we're going to talk about it. And let me put up the question first, and then we'll go read the post. Okay, so this is another long one. So let's uh, let's make it a little shorter. So basically, it says, and I know it's hard to see. Okay, it says, it seems people are trying to make synthetic users a thing again. On my LinkedIn feed, I've been seeing many people talking about it. Most people are against it, as they should be. Others are curious, others are still trying to test it out for some reason. One of the theories I saw being posted this week was this one. And then they sent a LinkedIn link and a screenshot of it. And the question is, what's your opinion on this theory of sorts? My take from the person who wrote the question: synthetic users using user data, which is often incomplete, but they want to ask answers about whatever based on a few questions we asked users. How could you even extrapolate data like that? Seems to be another layer of an unethical and biased answers to justify the unjustifiable. Okay, so this person has a definite take on this, and in order to let everybody know what this conversation is even about, I am going to share my screen and read you the post that the anonymous question linked to, and get ready with your thoughts and answers. Here we go. This is a LinkedIn post from 5 days ago from someone named Caitlin Sullivan, or I'm pronouncing it Caitlin. I don't know if it's Kathleen, but basically, this is someone I'm not connected to. This is not someone I know. I'm just going to read what they're saying, and then we can see what we think of it. She says, or they say, synthetic users isn't one thing. There are many approaches. These are the ones you need to know. A primer. I've heard that this is supposed to be pronounced primer instead of primer, but we can fight that out later. I don't even know. Most people hear synthetic users and picture one thing: ask your LLM to pretend to be a customer. That's one approach. There are several others, and they're built very differently, require different data, and produce different levels of accuracy. Here's what's actually out there, organized by how the synthetic user gets built. 1. Persona prompting, silicon samples. Describe a user to an LLM, age, role, context, and ask it to respond as that person. No real data required, fast and cheap. What many people mean when they say synthetic users. It's also the least reliable. The AI is guessing from stereotypes it learned during training, not from anything it knows about your actual customer. So, this is a very long post, so I'm going to stop here and let's address each thing this person says in pieces. So, persona prompting slash silicon samples. Hey, my user is a 50-year-old divorced woman in Ohio, and she works at Target. Pretend you're her. Okay, I can agree that this is fast and cheap, but absolutely the least reliable because it comes from the least amount of data and would definitely play into LLM's training, which is often biased and goes straight to hell. So I think what this person says here seems accurate to me. Now let's look at their number two. Number two, knowledge grounded synthetic users. The LLM reads your existing research, past interviews, survey data, voice of the customer documents before generating responses, role playing, but with reference material. Better than pure prompting, but the model itself hasn't changed. It's reading your notes, not learning from them. So, I think an interesting thing here is we don't have a sense of the context. What are we using these people for? Are we asking them, do you like this web page? Would you buy this sandwich? We don't know. And so I think that depending upon what we're going to use these for, we have to try to figure out if each method is likely to be useful. So, if an AI read all of the research data you have on people and knew everything that you knew about those people, could you ask AI to try to imagine what these people might do or think? You could. Is it role playing with reference material? Yes. But guess what? That's what all of us are doing at our jobs. Our research is the reference material. From there, we have to extrapolate it and use it as a foundation and say, okay, now that we've learned all these things about these people, what might they do in this other situation? What might they do if we designed it like this? What might they do if we designed it like this? Before we get to test it on people, we are doing this. We're taking all of the data that we have and we're trying to imagine what people will do. So, can AI do that as well as we can? Better than we can? Not as well as we can? I don't know the answer to that because I haven't experimented with it. But I'm not going to throw this one out the window immediately just because it's role playing with reference material. That's literally what we spend a lot of our time at our jobs doing. Some of that is good and some of that is terrible, even when done by humans. We know this because we often have fights with people who say, "I know our users. I ran a survey." So, okay, garbage in, garbage out. So I think that's what I feel about number 2. Garbage in, garbage out, but a lot of us are doing this at our jobs. We take our reference material and we try to understand people as best as we can and try to figure out how they would respond to a thing that we didn't show them. That's what we do. Number 3, according to this person's post, AI augmented survey models fine tuned. The model is actually retrained on real population data like survey responses. Its weights change, not just reading docs, it's internalized patterns from your data, more reliable for predicting missing responses within known data, less reliable for new questions, more expensive. I can't tell the difference between this and the last one. So in the last one, we gave it all the data we had, everything. And so it's doing the best it can, working from the data that we gave it, and potentially role playing as our customers, but based on extensive data. It says here interviews, surveys, voice of the customer. That should be extensive data, especially if you add maybe even customer support complaints or trends. And then the next one says AI augmented survey models. The model is retrained on real population data like survey responses. Number 2 had surveys, so I must be missing something here. I'm going to assume I'm the not smart person. I must be missing something here. But 2 and 3 seem quite similar to me. I think the difference is using an LLM or specific AI, like sending out a survey through AI. still seems close to number two. So I think there's some nuance here that I'm not totally getting, but these seem close because ultimately AI ends up with the same data you have. I don't think AI would end up with data you. Is this implying AI ends up with data you don't have? AI goes out and learns things that you don't know? That doesn't sound good because we need to check what AI knows. We need to check that it's not hallucinating or performing or so that seems weird. So I must there must be a nuance here I'm not getting. Number 4, synthetic panels. The model generates aggregate survey level predictions for a population segment, not individual conversations distributions. How would this segment respond to a purchase intent survey? Different output from the first three. You're not talking to a simulated person, you're predicting a broader pattern. So here's where now I get totally thrown off. I thought that we were always talking to a broader pattern. I always thought that we were role playing a segment or a persona or a typology or a profile. I never thought that number 2 or number 3 was role play Debbie Levitt. Only her. Role play Ana Lucia. Only her. I thought 2 and 3 would kind of be almost what 4 is saying. Like you're you're asking your AI or LLM to imagine it's a group of people. Like when I think about some research I worked on recently, the group is Italian WordPress freelancers. Well, it's not one person, that's the group. So number 2 and number 3, I don't think I would ever ask anybody to role play a single person. I would always imagine we're looking at our segments, our target audiences. Ana Lucia says, I think it's like Claude versus synthetic users. I think 4 is referencing models like those we use for weather. I must not be very smart today because I'm just not getting this. Ana Lucia, is this clear to you? Anybody watching this live? LinkedIn? Hello? YouTube? Is this like super clear to you and I'm not getting this? Because maybe it's me. Maybe this is super, super clear to people, but like I'm not getting the nuance or the subtlety here. All of these, 4 of these things sound, a few of these things sound the same so far. Number 5, digital twins. I don't think it's super clear. I'm just guessing. Okay, thanks, Ana Lucia. And it's not that I want to be right. I want someone to tell me, no, this is very clear, Debbie. I get it. You don't. And then you can explain it to me and I can catch up with you. I'm not looking to be right here. I'm looking to be wrong so that someone can explain this to me. So, continuing this post, the person says, number 5, digital twins, a model of a specific real individual built from deep data about that person. Long form interviews, behavioral history. The AI represents this customer, not a type of customer. Stanford built digital twins from 2-hour interviews with 1,052 people, hit 85% accuracy on survey questions, but with more investment time and data collected than most teams put into their research. So now we're talking again about not modeling or representing a segment, groups of people. We're now talking about um, could we have a 2-hour interview with you and then predict how you'll answer questions on a survey? I think it really depends on what you ask me about during those 2 hours and then what the survey questions are. If you spend 2 hours asking me about my food allergies and where I've traveled in the world and what are my family relationships like, and then the survey question asks me about my religion, you're probably going to get that wrong because we didn't talk about it. You don't have the data. How would you be accurate with that survey question? But if you have 2 hours of interview data on me and then you have survey questions that would pull from that data because you have the answers, I would imagine that goes well. But then what are we doing here? What's the point of any of this? We don't need a model or a digital twin that can take a survey like Debbie would. What? I don't even know what we're doing here. What's the point of any of this? What's this person's point other than sign up to my next newsletter? I don't want to sign up to your newsletter after reading this. This didn't grab me and pull me in. This made me feel like I'm not smart and I don't get this. The part nobody wants to hear, which of course sounds written by AI. AI wrote this. This might sound obvious. The more real high quality data behind the synthetic user, the more you can trust it. But most teams that ask me about synthetic users are asking because they want to collect less data. That's the whole appeal. The synthetic approaches that work best require you to have already done the customer discovery those teams are trying to skip. Okay, so my guess is that this part of the post was written by AI because I see some AI patterns in this. I think the rest of it, I'm not sure about because sure, you have a long dash where grammatically a long dash shouldn't be. So usually I write with long dashes or M dashes, but I write where they should be. These are grammatically where they shouldn't be. This should be a colon or in some cases a comma. So I am wondering, especially, and the numbered list is also a hallmark of AI. So I'm wondering if AI wrote this or rewrote this for this person, but I have to admit, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know what this person's point is. I don't get it. And I don't know what to do about any of this other than, sure, the more data we have about people, the better we can try to predict some things because we understand them better. The better we can try to serve them and build products and services for them. I don't know what her point is. And I don't get it. Ooh, an ugly email from LinkedIn. Mm-mm-mm. This is a weird one. Gonna have to read ahead on this. I'll put this up on the screen so everybody can see the ugly email I just got from LinkedIn. Anyway, Ana Lucia says, I think it's really odd to think a 2-hour interview is enough to build a digital twin. Yeah, unless it's about a very specific topic. If you say, I want to make a digital twin about how Debbie runs a karaoke show. If you talk to me for 2 hours, you're going to have a lot of good information about how Debbie runs a karaoke show. But you are not going to be able to predict anything else that I know or think or feel or believe or prioritize on any other topic. But you'll know a lot about how I run a karaoke show. Ana Lucia says Caitlin's experimenting with synthetic users. She's actually doing experiments to get more data of how they work and how we can work with them or how we can't work with them. I think this came up because synthetic users are a hot topic again for some reason. And they're a hot topic for the reason that she said, which is people think that you can make models of individual people or groups of people with nearly no information. I've seen people think they can do this with demographics. Like, oh, I can make a model of our target audience because I know that they're 50-year-old women who live in Ohio and have two grown children. That really doesn't tell us anything about how they shop or decide or think or act or don't act or what they're motivated by. So I think this is still hot because people are hoping that AI will do a lot of these things for people, and they're hoping that this is something we can do cheap with almost no data. I mean, people are going into AI and asking it to role play. Oh, you're Don Norman. Now look at my website and tell me what's wrong with it. That's role play. That's a hallucination. You have requested a hallucination. You have requested that AI or an LLM pretend to be someone or something that it's not. You can tell AI, oh, pretend to be Debbie Levitt and look at my portfolio. I don't know what it's going to do. It hasn't trained on me that I know of. Ah, I think I'm getting a little change of seasons cold, as I sometimes do. Here's the weird email I got from LinkedIn that I'm going to have to make sense of. It says, we're changing how you go live on LinkedIn. I guess everybody. Starting June 22, all live events will need to be scheduled ahead of time. While the ability to go live spontaneously will no longer be available, you can go live on short notice by scheduling your event minutes in advance. Uh, Server load? Uh, I don't know. So I'll have to schedule these in advance. That's what we've learned. Hi, if you're joining me, I'm Debbie from Delta CX, and we are here to answer any questions you have. I also want to let you know I've got some courses coming up. One is about how I use AI for qualitative research. We're going to spend days on it, so you're going to learn a lot. I'm doing it live, and you can also watch it asynchronously if you want, totally up to you, either way. And I'm doing another Life After Tech. Round. So if anybody would like some help thinking about what kind of work they might do next, I am here to help. We'll be using my book. So check that out once Ana Lucia's comment goes away. And she says, also, one of the things that still bugs me is that companies seem not to understand that the data UX needs is different from the data marketing needs. Sometimes we may have overlaps, sure, but we don't like using stereotypes and stuff like that. Yeah, and I've been trying to tell some of my clients that we recently had a client that was a marketing department, and they gave us their ICPs, ideal customer profiles, and they were like, oh, businesses of this size and businesses of this size. And in the end, after we met people, we said, we think we have a better way to segment your audience. We would look at them in these three ways. And it looks like a lot of your website is fine tuned for this first type of person, this first typology or ICP or whatever you want to call them. But the weird thing, as we pointed out to the company, is this, based on our research, you have fine tuned your website for the type of customer who spends the least money, needs the most customer support, and is the least likely to stay a customer after their initial package is over. The least loyal. We think this might be a mistake. Well, not a mistake, a bad decision. We think this might not be the best way to go. We think we have two other typologies here for you that we think you should focus on and reconfigure the website to have information for typology number one if you want them to be your customer, and maybe you do, but they're not the kind of people who grow into types two and three. This isn't a continuum. They will pretty much always be that type. They want to spend about €3 a year, and they will burn your customer support for many times that. So what you doing? So yeah, I will say I've never had a company pay my invoice so fast. So either they're happy to be rid of me or they really appreciated those thoughts. If anybody has any questions, this is our Wednesday Ask Me Anything show. And I'm always happy to take questions on any topic. As you can see, we've got work related topics, we've got personal related topics. I'm just here to be helpful in any way that I can. And we are live on Twitch and YouTube and LinkedIn for what that's worth. And hopefully, when I feel better, I can get back to karaoke streams. I miss those. If I get sicker, I might have to reschedule the book club. I'll just say that now. I kind of wanted to pick your brain now to understand how you concluded that, but NDAs. Yeah. Um, how did we conclude that? Well, we did research where we looked at people's behavior when shopping for this particular type of thing. So, how they shop for it, how they understand what a company offers, especially when a company offers different packages or price points, and how they decide whether or not they're going to buy it. And we learned that there was just a group of people that were really low knowledge and were very likely to lean on customer support for a lot of help because this is a very technical purchase. It's something that almost everybody will buy at some point, but it is technical. And this was a group of people who basically said, I don't understand a lot of the words on this website. I'm going to ask my friends to help me decide because they know this stuff better than I do. And I'm probably going to need a lot of customer support. And then, when my first year of service is over, I'll probably shop around for whoever has the best price because I just want to spend as little as possible. And so once we started hearing those types of things and we realized that this wasn't the type of thing where a type 1 gains some knowledge and becomes a type 2, as we've seen in some of our other research studies, where someone starts out lower knowledge, but then as they get older or learn more or something happens where they become more knowledgeable or savvier, then they kind of move into a different profile or typology. This was not that this person was always likely to not necessarily get more savvy, to probably always need support's help, and probably have continue having the behaviors of jumping to another company for whatever's the best deal going when their package is expiring. So, how did we conclude that? We talked to people. We talked to people about their shopping process, their selection process, their decision making process. We had them look at two or three different competitors' websites to understand what terms they understood and what packages they understood and how would they pick things. And we found people who were very low knowledge, and then we found people with very high knowledge, and even they said like, "Oh, I want to know this, this, and this, and that's not here." They had like incredibly granular, deep details that they wanted to see. So this is almost like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I don't know if everybody knows that kind of story, but this one's too small, this one's too big, this one's just right. But when you looked at their website, you're like, who are they optimizing for? Who are they talking to? If you had to guess who this company's sweet spot of a customer is based on their website and what the website says, and I told them this, I said, it looks like your website is optimized for typology 1. I would be optimizing for 2 and 3. They're savvier, they're going to use tech support less, they understand most of the terms, they need a little more information than you gave, but they're ready to open their wallets for a good company that'll provide good service and create a good relationship with them. These people will jump the second somebody is €1 cheaper. And I remember the marketing people saying, well, we see ourselves as the challenger brand. I said, you're not the challenger brand because your website looks like every other competitor. It's like you all got the same template. Did you all get the same template somewhere? Because your website looks like every other competitor. So, what makes you the challenger brand? But that's the cool thing about working with marketing departments because they see things so differently than I do. And I take that as a positive. I take that as an enjoyable, interesting, challenging conversation where they can tell me, well, we're the challenger brand. Cool. I know who you're challenging. How's it going? When people get to the site, do they feel like you're the challenger? You're the anti so and so? You're the better selection than competitors X and Y? How would we know that? This website looks just like theirs. We just saw your site and 7 competitors in our studies. They're all the same. You're all the same. So yeah, I would love to talk more. I would always love to talk more about the studies that I do. They're so fun and interesting, and I'm just about to enter into another one. Luckily, I'm getting a little freelance work right now, and this one's interesting too. It's going to be looking at similarly. I always love to work with. I'm always all about better understanding target audiences, and we're going to be looking at how people. Um, Find and evaluate and select and shortlist colleges and universities. How do they go online and decide which schools or programs they might want to go to? Because knowing that will help my client. So I'll be starting that one soon. I've got a new case studies page. It's got everything on it that I mean to put on it except for the one of the jobs I had last year, so that one's still missing. But you can read the short versions of these case studies there. That's country specific. Yeah, we're going to be looking at America for the students. It was also country specific for the other shopping one with the three typologies that I was just talking about. That was country specific as well. Our client had already done research in Germany with a German research company, and they had us do research in with Italians with the interviews conducted in Italian. I listened. I had Pier Mario conduct the interviews, and he did a great job. So, yeah, so definitely country specific and uh, mother tongue specific. It doesn't make sense to interview the Italians in English if they are looking at an Italian website to do something in Italian. And yeah, don't get funny there. Yeah, and we also before in February I also worked on a project that was I met 10 people who bought properties outside of their home country, and I had to map the process of how they went about that whole tasks and subtasks from deciding, excuse me, ooh, hey, let's buy property in another country to getting it done. So, yeah, some interesting things coming. Um, we'll see. So, looking at our schedule right now, we've got a lightning lesson tomorrow. Oh, the way we pick universities in Portugal is different from the US. We have private and public schools. The public ones are the ones with the good reputations. Okay. Yeah, America is definitely different. And it's a very um, a lot of them are doing advertising and marketing to try to win students over. And so, understanding how students evaluate different schools in America, the students don't have to be American, but they would have to be looking at American universities or colleges and speaking English. So, we think that'll be easier to recruit. But again, dcx.to/courses. Take a look at some of the things that I've got coming up. If you're interested in the courses and you feel like you can't afford them, but you want to go, just send me a note. You don't have to tell me why. Just tell me how much you'd like to pay for the course, and I will make you a coupon. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to explain their life to me. If the price doesn't work for you and you want to go to the course, tell me the right number and we'll make it happen. All right, let's wind down for today. I'll try to do book club on Friday, assuming that this cold doesn't get worse. Oh, the admissions in Portugal are meritocracy based. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Only the best can enter. Doesn't matter if your parents are rich or your extracurriculars are interesting. Yeah, definitely different than America, depending upon where you're applying. All right, I'm going to wrap up. My energy is a bit low from feeling a little sick, but hopefully everybody out there is well or getting better. And I hope you have a good, oh, I'm running out of energy. Good rest of your day. Hopefully, see you Friday for book club and see you around our free Discord. Yeah, I had 3 cups of tea today, by the way, in my customers know you suck mug. Available at deltacx.shop. Yes, I did. My favorite Italian tea is mint, licorice, and finocchi. Fennel. You wouldn't think they go together, but they do. All right. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to flame us out of here. I forgot to play the closing music. Closing music. Don't forget, if you send in a question to dcx.to/q and we're off the air, I will catch it and save it for next time. Thanks and catch you later. Bye.